Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee joins us live from the State House. Governor, as always, I appreciate your time tonight.
Well, thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate that, too. Governor, you know there's a lot of frustration amongst taxpayers, and they feel as though the administration is not empathizing with their concerns. They want direct answers. So let me begin with this question. You have a bridge that's inspected in July, and then a few months later you find a major problem, and now we're investigating to see if there are bigger problems. You must have been in a meeting and asked somebody, how did that happen?
Yeah, so Dan, let me just, say where we were when we made the decision to, close the bridge. We certainly have apologized, or certainly, empathize with the frustration that's out there in terms of travel. But that decision was made because it was brought to our attention that there was a potential safety issue. So we closed the bridge, and then we immediately worked to open up 2 lanes, east and west. The traffic pattern there is, depending on the time of the day, is more difficult than others, but normally if it's difficult now, then it was difficult, prior to the closing of the bridge. So what we're doing is taking a look at, we're asked for reports. You know that our office has got an independent report going with engineers. The DOT has 2, the federal has a report coming. We haven't seen that report. So right. The only thing that we know is what we know. So but the Governor, reason we closed the bridge,
Governor, can I just go back to the
because it was a safety issue. And then now you're expecting us to comment and speculate on reports that we haven't seen yet.
No, I'm not asking you to speculate, Governor. I think the viewers want some answers. How does a bridge get inspected in July and passes, and then a few months later we are dealing with major constructions? That's the question they're asking. How does it get inspected, and then a couple of months later we're dealing with this big problem?
So I understand that people are asking that question, and I'm trying to answer it, that when we got the information, it was a safety issue. We made the decision to shut down the bridge. And again, we worked very quickly to get travel going east and west on the highway. Right now, we're waiting on the reports that can give us those answers.
All right, but Governor, I don't feel like you're answering my question. With all due respect, if you get your car inspected in July and the engine seizes 3 months later, you go back to the mechanic and say, what happened? How did you pass it with flying colors and now the car can't move? And that's what people are asking about this bridge.
Well, all I can say, Dan, is I can repeat it. The decision that was made on the day to close it was based on the information we had.
Governor, I don't mean to interrupt you. Governor, I don't mean to interrupt you. I know what you're saying, but I'm saying you're not answering the question that it was inspected and approved in July, and then a few months later, we have all these problems. I know what you're doing. You responded the best you could. So how did it get inspected and pass?
Dan, I'm answering the question. I am answering the question that at the moment in time when we had the information, it was important for us to move ahead based on safety. Today, we are gathering that information in terms of how we got there and also what to do going forward. We don't have that information right now. The engineers are doing that report, and as soon as something changes that we can actually give a report on, we will.
All right. Governor, viewer Walter Bellanos is asking you, the DOT is bringing in the experts to examine the bridge. What kind of people have been examining the bridge before?
Yeah, so we have engineers that have done that work, as we do on all bridges. Remember, we've replaced or repaired over 400 bridges in the state of Rhode Island, right? Hundreds of miles of roads are being done. So, the work that's being done out of DOT is good work. Now, in this instance, we have to discover what the problem was. If there was some level of misreporting, and we're not saying that's the case right now, we'll hold that engineer company accountable.
So who inspected the bridge?
If there's mistakes that were made.
Who inspected the bridge, Governor? Was it the state or an outside agency?
It's engineers that are contracted by the state.
Okay, and so they approved it, and then all of a sudden these problems happened. I want to ask you another question, Governor. Do you know, as you stand there in the State House tonight, what is the timeline for the engineers and the investigators to deliver the findings for you so people can find out what's going to happen next?
Well, we don't have a timeline, and certainly we're pushing for that because, as you say, the public has a right to know, and clearly we want to know that information so that we can make the right decisions for the quickest possible way to, recover the both east and west traffic lanes, and we also want to do it safely. So we don't have a timeline on that. We're pressing them for the timeline, but again, we're not looking for we want to be quick, but not in a hurry, Dan, right? If
Right,
you're in a
obviously
hurry,
safety
you
is
get
the safety is the most
information
important
right.
thing. There's a lot of
Yes.
viewers who have reached out to me and said, Dan, if this happens at the Washington Bridge, I don't feel safe driving over other bridges in the state. I know myself alone, I get the heebie-jeebies when I go over the Mount Hope Bridge. I'm just wondering, are you going to call for all bridges to be inspected now?
Yeah, I think we're certainly reviewing all, and in light of what's happened on the Washington Bridge, we're reviewing all the reports, and we're making sure that we're comfortable and we're confident the work that's being done right now, and confident that we made the right decision.
Right, but are you looking at other bridges, Governor? Are you looking at other bridges? Are you looking at other bridges?
Of course.
Okay. That's all I'm asking.
Of course.
I'm just asking questions for the viewers, Governor. So I just want you to understand that, Governor. From Dennis Pacheco on Facebook.
I'm doing my best to answer it.
This isn't an easy issue, so we're just trying to get the questions answered for the people. Governor, Dennis Pacheco on Facebook is asks you, is calling the Army Corps of Engineers an option, meaning can you get federal help once you know what the fix needs to be?
I believe that we will. I mean, we're in touch immediately with the Secretary of Transportation, Secretary Buttigieg, and as well as a federal delegation who is, totally engaged, in terms of the small business, got right in with the Small Business Agency. By the way, very good loans for any business that was impacted, and the small businesses are still located in, SBA is in East Providence right now. I think we're up to over 600 applications for those dollars, so that gives me a moment to kind of get a plug to help the small businesses.
No, we want to help the small businesses.
We are totally engaged. The White House knows what's going on. The Secretary of Transportation knows what's going on. We've had, I think it was reported, Mayor Smiley ran into the Secretary of Transportation in D.C., and he was fully aware of what's going on because I've spoken to him about it. So we fully expect that once we determine the course of action, then we will rely on both federal aid as well as making sure that the resources that we have in the state can properly address.
All right, Governor, you gave us the answer. There are some who feel Peter Alvid, who was appointed by your predecessor, needs to go. Do you still have 100% confidence in him?
I do.
100%?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And I just mentioned we've repaired 400 or replaced 400 bridges under his leadership. We have miles and miles of road that are being improved in the state. Our infrastructure is improving. This particular situation, as disappointing as it is to the people, and again, we thank them for their patience on this matter, but this is an isolated issue. The workload that's being done, I get to ride, in one case, Route 295, which has been completely repaved, and we're still working on bridges there. But yeah, in total, we're fortunate, and very fortunate, by the way, that President Biden was able to get an infrastructure bill passed that is allowing us to do this work. And then one last point, as we're talking and communicating to people, I put $100 million of our surplus into the budget 2 years ago to free up $450 million worth of federal dollars. So your question is, are we going to really work with our federal guys? Absolutely.
Governor, let me ask you about the budget. What do you think is the best thing that impacts voters with the budget that you have unveiled, which is actually less than last year's budget?
Yeah, so it's the work that's currently in place, which I said in the state, investing in our fisheries, investing in Cranston, investing in a state health lab, making sure that gets completed is very important. And then what we're addressing and expanding some of our investment in education. We have bonds that I think are really important as we're developing the life science industry with a life science hub. We got asking the voters to take a look at putting a new building at URI campus. The cybersecurity school is unbelievable what we're doing there under Congressman Langevin, and looking for an improvement there so that we can put 1,000 students in that school, graduating 250 a year into six-figure jobs. So the thing that we're focusing on, is to continue to talk about how we raise incomes for the families in the state of Rhode Island. $100 million bond for housing. I really believe that home ownership is a real key for us, for our young people that live in the state, our sons and daughters, our grandchildren, to make sure that they have a path to home ownership in the state. So I think
Governor,
that we're
I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm against my back on time right here. I'm sorry, but we're going to talk to you a little bit more about the budget, and I hope you appreciate that. For decades, NBC 10 is known for asking the tough questions, and we do it on behalf of the viewers. And there's no easy answer with this bridge, but we hope to just kind of get the answers for them. I appreciate your time more than you know.
Well, I do as well, and then the opportunity to come on, Dan. Thank you so much. We'll do it again.
I hope so.